Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of making Siapao. So if you can see, I'm just breaking up the meat here, and then I had the sauce in there. The original recipe calls for you to add water, but because there is so much juice from the meat, I chose not to do that. It just makes it a lot easier. But yeah, you can see I'm just kind of mixing it around. I'm trying to actually get some of the water out because that way it starts to thicken. Obviously the cornstarch helps a lot, but you can see that it is thickening really nice. And then eventually I'm just going to put it to the side. Something you can do too is you can add water chestnuts to it. It's not really part of the dish, or if you want it to be spicier, you can add sriracha too. That's not traditional, but you know, you're going to be eating these steamed buns, so you might as well make it taste really good too, to your liking. You don't have to necessarily make it, you know, extra. Just be aware too that in the description box below there is the full recipe. I did make a couple adjustments, so take a look at that just to be sure. Just because I felt maybe that was too much cheese, they were rising so big, and I probably could have done 15 of these, but I didn't. So yeah, I'm just going to keep moving the meat around, and then eventually transfer it to a bowl to cool once it's fully cooked, and then you can try it to season and add some pepper in there too as well if you like. Oh yeah, I'm not putting it on a plate. And then I'll probably just transfer it to a bowl. Yep, there we go. And that's just going to cool down for 5 to 10 minutes until it kind of comes to room temperature. Now in this clip you'll see that I'm just taking scissors and I'm like snipping pieces off, just because that day I just really didn't feel like dealing with flour. So what you can do is wet your board a little bit, or you can use flour. I just noticed sometimes if you use too much flour, if you overuse it, it becomes too floury and it kind of hurts the dough a little bit, because then you have to reknead it. But it is a very sticky dough, so I recommend spraying your board with oil and then oiling your hands so it's easier to deal with too as well. So I use an avocado oil spray. You can use coconut oil, that makes it a lot easier. And I let this sit for about 15 minutes on the counter. So you'll see I have parchment paper, but I should have sprayed it with oil and I didn't. There's a lot going on that day. Kevin had stuff going on with his bike, so yeah. I mean, things happen. What are you going to do? And I didn't spray my board, so I'm like, oh, regret. Whatever, I'm just going to do it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the dough and I'm spreading it out. I'm using the tips of my fingers by pushing from the top to the bottom across, so it's shaped like a round piece of dough. About a 4 to 5 inch round is probably perfect, depending on the size of your steamer. So you'll see it spread out. And I'm actually grabbing the filling at this point. Or talking to Kevin, I don't know. But you can make them bigger. I noticed this size is good. If you do it any bigger than this, they get way too big. Flours you can use too. White lily, all-purpose bleach flour. If you use unbleached flour, it will look brown and it doesn't taste like as light and soft because you're steaming it. So I'm just spooning it in there, and I regret so much I didn't put oil down because it is such a sticky dough because of all the sugar in there. If you're trying to figure out what yeast to use, a good one is Red Star yeast. And if you look too, now I'm pleating it. So I'm actually holding the edges and pleating all the way around and just kind of bringing up the corners all the way over. Yep. And then I'm just kind of pinching the top. See? That's one. And then you should oil whatever you're doing or put it directly in the steamer. I've seen pictures of people putting them on wax paper. Make sure you oil the wax paper because when I made this, Kevin actually ate a piece of wax paper and it was like, I think I ate a lot of wax paper in this. So just be fully aware if you are going to use any kind of paper to make sure to spray it a little bit with oil. You can brush it with oil, whatever. I mean, I have avocado oil spray in our house, or coconut oil spray. It just makes it a lot easier. And I'm a pretty realistic person. I just think that, you know, most people are going to end up doing the easiest thing and try to make it as easy as possible. So I'm going to put that in our little steamer here. And in the steamer you saw I put wax paper. I recommend cutting squares out first and then spraying them with oil and then putting the bao or your siapao on top of it. And you can do any kind of filling too. Like if you wanted to put carrots in there, you definitely could. Green onions, chestnuts, those are great. I love chestnuts. They are so good in this if you have a chance to do that. And I still don't spray the bottom of this board, but we're going to live that life anyways, aren't we? All right, we're just going to spread that out. And I think with this one, what I did was I took my knife and I like cut the bottom a little bit just so that I could actually fold it. But you want to make sure it's about when you put your filling in, an inch from the top and the bottom. Jeez Louise, that is ridiculously sticky. Yeah, if you want to use flour, you can. I just noticed they don't turn out as fluffy. But I'm sure they still taste good. I'm like, oh no, what did I do? Yep, that's fine. Water works too. Like if you don't want to use oil, water works great. Just have a bowl of water for your hands and you can dip it, and that way it doesn't stick to your hands. But my goodness, what was I thinking in here? I am so sorry. They taste so good. I'm going to try it again later because I still have lotus flower. So the red lotus flower is probably the best. It's most expensive. It's like $20 on Amazon. So if you want the link, just comment below and then I can send you the link for that. I used the knife to get it off because I was so frustrated. I was like, what did I do? I'm just going to leave it alone. I don't care. So yeah, but at this point, they're in the steamer for about 15 minutes. I have a rice cooker steamer. If you do it in your Instapot, make sure that you put the steaming rack in and put about an inch of water on the bottom. On steam for 5 to 10 minutes works fine, or you can do it now. See, there I put oil in that. You can see the oil on there. Now I put the oil in there, and you can see how much easier it is when you put the oil down. Good job, Ara. I'm so proud of you. So at this point too, if you're wondering how you freeze these, I don't recommend freezing them when they're filled and raw because the dough does change its texture. So what I do recommend, yep, I sprayed the pan because I was mad. What I do recommend is cooking them and then freezing them. So I actually have 3 of them in the freezer. And you could probably do a vegan version of this. What you would do is you would use, what's a really good thing to do? You can do black beans, or you can do TVP, which is textured vegetable protein, and you can still use the same sauces because they're all vegan. But do you see how much easier it is when you use the oil? I mean, honestly, look at that. 1, 2, 3, done. The pleating is difficult. You can just pull the sides all the way in if you're not into the pleating. You just are just like over it. But yeah, I pleat from one side and then move to the other side to pleat. It's just a lot easier to do. So I kind of put my finger on one end and pleat inward. There you go. So it made about 12 of these, and so I'm just finishing up the last few. But for the dough, I noticed that you really want to make sure you have some flour to the side too as well if you are going to do this. I don't roll it out just because the protein structure in that dough particularly is just so delicate, and I want them to rise really well in the steamer. So I chose not to roll it out. I just felt like for me, I like a little bit less filling and I like more of the bun. They're a little bit sweeter. And what you can do is if you can find red bean paste it's really good in that, or you can do curry buns if you like. A really good curry is the golden curry that you can buy it anywhere, and then you can do chicken curry and just stuff them in there too as well. You don't need egg wash. The dough is super sticky, so it's not really necessary. If you feel like you need it, your dough's a little dry, it might need to sit a little bit longer on the counter, or you've added a little too much flour. So that is another reason why. But do you see that pleating? I am so proud of myself. Look at that. Look at those pleats. That one, I was like, ooh, soup dumpling moment. So you want to make sure too, the bottom, like your dough is about 1/4 inch thick. If it's too thin, it is difficult to get that filling out. Yeah, all you have to do is push. That's it. Like, you don't have to roll it. I'm not dealing with a sticky pin for this guy here. And two, if you really want more sauce, you know what? Don't do that. I was just thinking about that. I was just imagining someone's like, I want more sauce in there. And then, oh, you could try to chill your filling completely, and then it'll be cold enough where it'll start to gelatinize. So then when you put in the bun and it steams, you get more sauce in there. So if you want more sauce, you can put more liquid in there, and then just put it in the fridge longer. I need to put oil. So in between too, you're doing your dough, make sure you put oil on there, because I'm noticing it is getting really sticky. You can see our cats kind of pacing back and forth. Okay, so I probably could have put more filling in there. The dough doesn't look super even, but it looks pretty good. All right, I think that's our last one. I'll be surprised if I have another one. Wow, okay. Yeah, I made a lot. I forgot, but we ate like, the kids ate some, so Madeline and Jay had like 2 apiece, so that's 4. Okay, last one. Look at that. Me extremely proud that this was probably one of the longest videos I've ever filmed because of the process of it, so I had to break it up in 2 parts. Because I had to pause half the video. Usually I pause it, and then I had to turn this guy off because I had other stuff going on. All right, I think this is our last one. Bam. All right, so you're gonna see the finished Siapao. You don't need to egg wash any of these. You don't need to put egg white on it. They steam fine without any of it. They look great. Now, when you use all-purpose unbleached flour, you will notice a chewier texture in the dough. They're not as light. So if you go in that direction because you don't want it to be overly processed, you're not going to get the same color. It's going to look brown. And they might be a little chewier. They won't be as soft. So white lily, lotus, I know there are different bao flours, but I've seen and I've had experience with them, and they're not as good and consistent. Sometimes the flour too, some of the ones from different countries, sometimes they have bugs in it. I've been seeing pictures online, and I'm like, I am not, no thank you. So white lily is good. It basically has the same components of like a red lotus flower or any of the bao flours you'll see. I don't remember if it has bicarbonate in it. The self-rising white lily flour does have bicarbonate in it, so I would purchase that one because they will be super light and extremely fluffy when you steam them. You'll see a huge difference in your Siapao too as well. Like I said, normally we use pork for these, but I personally like the ground chicken. You won't be able to tell the difference. Meat is meat, honestly. You can do ground beef. Lamb, it's going to be a little bit more gamey, so just be fully aware of that. But I think actually if we had any ground venison, I would definitely do ground venison steam buns. I think those would be really good. So hopefully try out this recipe. I'm going to go ahead and do a couple more recipes too today. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video, and you'll see in the next clip, you'll see the finished steamed buns, and they were so good. Look at those guys. Turned out great. I put it in our little rice cooker steamer there.